Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Professor Ming's Strategic Insights. Last week on December the 10th, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense made an announcement revealing that Communist China has dispatched a great number of warships and airplanes and so on and so forth to conduct a unpublicized drill or military exercises. They dispatched around 100 warships, both naval, Navy warships and Coast Guard warships. About 2/3 of them were Navy and the rest Coast Guards. So the magnitude is so big and it surpassed the size and the magnitude like anything like that before. So it's we can say it's unprecedented. The warships were dispatched to waters nearby Taiwan, to the east of Taiwan and to the northeastern part of Taiwan, and along both sides of Taiwan, actually, the Taiwan Strait and the Pacific Ocean side. And the news report also says it forms like two walls of warships away from Taiwan to form a what they call a containment circle, a containment wall against any possible foreign intervention into Taiwan Strait or into Taiwan affairs. So the Defense Ministry of Taiwan also said they made necessary preparation in case the PLA transformed the drill or the exercise into an actual war. So they made the necessary preparations for the events to come. I think it's the next day. The Reuters also followed up on the same news. They reported that it was the first time that Communist China ever done something like that. They are targeted at the first island chain. To the north is the Japanese islands and South Korea, and then of course the Ryukyus and Taiwan, and then down to South China Sea, even down to waters nearby the Philippines and even Borneo. So that's really, like I said, it's unprecedented. They said their purpose was to take the vantage point and to control the inside of the island chain and to form or to pose a military threat or military deterrence against the neighboring countries such as South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, Indonesia, and of course, the American troops in the region. And also, according to the Ministry of Defense of Taiwan, they said they have made necessary preparations such as establish a contingency center and initiated the necessary exercises on the military side, and so that they could cope with the worst possible case. Anyway, the thing may be over, but the question is, what is their purpose, or what was their purpose for the whole event? So what was the purpose of this Communist Chinese military exercises or a military drill, whatever you call it? Upon seeing this, some people in Taiwan argued that it's all against President Lai Ching-te because he was going to visit some countries in South Pacific, and en route to these countries, he had to make the brief stop at Hawaii, which is American territory. So some argue that it is against him. It's a protest against this kind of activities between the United States and Taiwan, and also it is a protest against the so-called Taiwan independence activities. This is definitely part of the reason, but that's far from the whole picture. Actually, as I see it, aiming at the so-called President Lai's Taiwan independence activity is probably just part of the reason. In fact, perhaps the least important part of the reason. There are other multiple reasons behind it. Well, they've been using it. They've been exploiting the case. So toward Taiwan, they do this mostly on the propaganda side, and it forms a stress, forms some kind of pressure upon Taiwan, and to divide up Taiwan from inside. And it does have its effect. You can tell, you can see it. And of course, like I said, there are other more important reasons behind all these activities or this kind of propaganda activities on the communist side. In recent years, as we've been pointed out, that the United States had been strengthening its presence or had increases its presence in the Pacific region, especially on the military side. America has strengthened its military ties with Japan, with South Korea, and with the Philippines. And not forget about the so-called AUKUS 2021. That's the first real military pact, military alliance formed after the Cold War, after the breakdown of the Soviet Empire. So that's important. And of course, there are nuclear submarines around or deployed in the region. And that's a response. And that's why the Chinese Communists want to respond to all these things. But there are still other important reasons for the China's activity. And more importantly, is targeting at Donald Trump. Donald Trump, the president-elect of the United States, he's going to swear in the White House in the coming January the 20th, actually. And from the experience 4 years ago, they had some tough lessons learned from President Trump. President Trump was the first person who started the so-called tariff war, or tariff warfare, in response to the unfair trading behavior on the communist part, on the communist Chinese part. So that's how he did it. And moving forward from this terror warfare, Trump moved into so-called technological warfare, chip war, and so on and so forth. And he was actually the first president in almost 4 decades who single-handedly altered United States policy toward mainland China, from a more favorable one to a competitive one. So Communist China remembered vividly. Beijing's leadership is worrying about the return of Trump and worrying what he would do in the next 4 years. They know that they have to deal with Trump. It's inevitable. And Trump is a tough guy. They've learned it 4 years ago. And a trade war, or at least a negotiation over trades between the two countries, seems inevitable. So they have to prepare for it, in addition to other things. But it doesn't matter, it's a trade war or the chip war or other warfare. Anyway, that the leadership in Beijing realized that they have very little chips, very little leverage on their hands. So what can they do to deal with Trump, this tough guy, this president-to-be? So they have to create some kind of chips or some kind of leverage just in case they need it. They're very good at it. So the thing they use is to create a sense of guilt, or so-called this guilty feeling on your part. What do we mean by that? It's Taiwan independence. Well, they keep saying, they said, well, Taiwan independence is a factor that caused the instability in the Taiwan region, or in the so-called Taiwan Strait region. And that's the only thing that would cause the relationship between the United States and China goes bad. So that's a destabilizing factor. We have to eliminate it as all Taiwan independence. But you, United States, or President of the United States, you help this Taiwan independence movement, although you don't say it orally, but your activities or your behavior are helping it out. You're actually encouraging it, or you're fostering it, you're using it against us. It's all your fault. So it's this guilty feeling that they're manipulating, and to create so-called the leverage or the bargaining chip in their hands just in case they need it. So a show of military force, a show of naval force would mean I'm determined. I have a strong determination. I won't back down facing your threat. So this will give them some kind of leverage or some kind of room for further negotiation. So having said all that, let's not forget, for anything they do, they might have a domestic consideration behind all the activities and all kind of the words. Anyway, it's aiming at the domestic situation. I can come up with 3 reasons. The first one is, of course, the military one. They've been building up this Navy or their naval force for a long time. They built dozens and dozens of warships, frigates, destroyers, or even aircraft carriers. So they have to train them. And they have to train them, they have to check up on them, and they have to exercise on so-called coordinated war-fighting efforts. They have to do that. Didn't I mention that the 2/3 of the ships they sent out or they dispatched were naval warships? What about the other third? Those were Coast Guard ships. When I say Coast Guard, you may think, oh, that's Coast Guard. It's small and it's light and it's kind of slow. That's not true. Chinese Communist Coast Guard is probably the strongest in the world in terms of tonnage. They have more than 100 warships, 100 big warships. Two of them were about 12,000 tons. It's commissioned to the Coast Guard by their Navy a few years ago, and they're huge, armed with heavy artillery, but they removed the big guns and left the smaller ones there, but still, that's formidable weapon. And they have many other heavy warships for the Coast Guard. So it's in the eyes of the experts, it's their second Navy. It's very, very strong, really, much stronger than the ones possessed by the neighboring countries. So that's a military purpose. The training and coordination between or among naval warships and Coast Guard ships. And let's not forget, they've been conducting a joint exercise between Chinese and Russian naval and also Air Force fighting capabilities nearby Japan and to the north of Taiwan. And it happened in November, and so just last month. So that's the first reason. The second reason is they want to show, or Xi Jinping wants to show that he still has full control of the military forces. The PLA is still firmly gripped in his own hands. Why do I say that? Let me enumerate my reasons. Well, he had been in power for 12 years, a little bit more than 12 years, and he had led 2 central military commissions, 5 years a term. 2 of the 3 central military commissions are now incomplete. In the first one, he removed General Wei Fenghe, a 3-star general. I'll talk about this person later. So that's the first term. The Central Military Commission we mentioned before is the highest organ in charge of the PLA, the People's Liberation Army. Usually it's composed of 6 or 7 people, 6 or 7 members. The Xi Jinping himself, the Secretary General, and other 5 or 6 professional soldiers. But in last Central Military Commission, one general was purged. It's General Wei Fenghe, a 3-star general. I'll talk about this person later on. In Central Military Commission, he purged 2 members, Li Shangfu, the former, and then General Miao Hua, the highest political commissar. I'll talk about these 2 people later on. So that renders 2 central military commissions incomplete up to this point. And then 2 of the 3 Minister of National Defense were purged. First one is again Wei Fenghe, the 3-star general, and second one is Li Shangfu. And the third one, Dong Jun, is also a 3-star general from Navy. Rumor has it, but he showed up again in one piece. So rumors about him stopped for a while, but we don't know what will happen to him later on. But anyway, 2 out of 3 Ministers of National Defense are in trouble. And then we talked about the rocket force of the PLA. Top commanders of this rocket force have been purged. General Wei Fenghe, General Zhou Yaning, and General Li Yuchao. All 3 of them are 3-star generals. So Wei Fenghe possessed many important posts, but he's purged, so it's important. And then we talked about the Strategic Support Unit. The commander, General Zhu Gansheng, also another 3-star general, was purged. And in addition, this unit was divided into 3, into a so-called military support, into so-called information support and technological support and what support anyway. So it's very unusual for the 4th branch of the PLA is disbanded into 3, and it's really a big thing. In addition to all that, 4 consecutive political commissars, the highest political commissars, were purged. General Xu Caihou, General Li Jinnai, General Zhang Yang, and General Miao Hua, all 4 of them are 3-star generals. Xu Caihou took up the office in 2008, and he was purged in 2012. And he was sent to jail and died in jail because of cancer in 2015. And General Li Jinnai, he took up the office in 2004 for 8 years. And rumor had it that he was under investigation, but it was never officially publicized. But he's implicated, so he's still kind of uncertain. And General Zhang Yang, he was purged and officially announced. And it was proclaimed that he committed suicide in his own home. But he was blamed and charged as a double-faced person, a double-faced figure. Namely, in front of his superior or his commanding officers, he's a good guy and he's a straight guy. But turning around, he may be somebody very corrupt, and he received huge bribes, and he bribed other people and had done other bad things. So he's a double-faced person. They call it a typical double-faced figure in the PLA. And it's surprising that a person like that, a figure like that, could move up to that kind of position. Remember, he was the top political commissar at the time for 4 years. And then the last one is General Miao Hua, as we mentioned before. It's another 3-star general, but it's a little bit different. His story is a little bit different. Why is that? Because he was very, very close to Xi Jinping. He knew Xi Jinping, they knew each other since Fujian in the 1990s, when Xi Jinping was a local official in Fujian province, the local secretary of a city, and then of the province, and then move on. So General Miao Hua knew him for a long, long time, and it was personally promoted by Xi Jinping all the way to this post. And then he was purged because he had violated both law and discipline. So that's a serious charge. We don't know what the exact charge is, but it's kind of unusual. So Xi Jinping had been gone through all these. So he has to show to the military, to the people, and to the world as in general, that he still has full control of the army, of the military forces. They're not going to rebel, and they're not going to rebel against him. They're not going to do anything bad anyway. So he has to do that. But the question is, if he has purged so many generals, so many top brass in the rank, the people behind him or his subordinates wouldn't be suspicious about their own future, about him in general? And the other way around, wouldn't he be suspicious about his subordinates? So it's like a mutual suspicion on both sides. So he has demonstrated that he still has full control of the army, and having an exercise of that magnitude serves just that purpose. So that's the second reason. And the last reason is, of course, is for the people, for the Chinese people. We know that Chinese people had much grievance in their hearts. They got their bad living, and the economy has gone bad, and they couldn't find a job, and perhaps they lost their job and lost their pay, but they still have to pay for the mortgage, and they have to pay for the children's education, they have to pay for the car and everything. So it's a very bad. The atmosphere in the Chinese society is very bad, as we pointed out in one of our previous programs. And what about the college graduates? They're almost desperate. The unemployment rate is about 46%, according to some unofficial statistics. So there are so many so-called retaliation against the society in general. Some indiscriminate killing here and there, as we reported before. So all these that Xi Jinping must know something about it. So he has to shift their attention away, or to redirect their attention away from the trouble they're facing. So by using military exercises or causing some kind of tension or tensions even across Taiwan Strait would probably be a good idea anyway. So it's like the wagging the tail, the dog wagging the tail, whatever you call it. So anyway, it's a whole lot more besides this so-called simple military naval exercise or whatever that you call it. But anyway, so it's very complicated. If things keep going bad in Chinese society and military exercises or even more tense military exercise against Taiwan, it's all conceivable. So let's keep that in mind. And like I said, the thing won't stop here. There's a lot more in the future for us to pay attention to. And I think that's what I want to share with you today. I hope you like today's program, and I'll see you next time.